Good afternoon, and welcome to another mature episode of Diatribes from the Voice of Doom. Now here's your meaningful and mendacious host, Voice of Doom. Alright, do a quick diatribe, little commentary. I'm not going to give you a geography lesson or a history lesson today because I didn't have time to study, or at least I wasted my time. But I want to catch you up on the microcosm because I now have a dog in the fight vis-a-vis this Armageddon business. Got a call from Benjamin yesterday, who's at Fort Bliss, Texas, right in El Paso. And I figured he would probably have to officiate over services and over the wounded and dead from the coming war with the cartel. But much to my dismay, he called me up yesterday and said in a month he is going to be deployed to Prince Sultan Air Force Base, which is 30 miles south of Riyadh, which is in Saudi Arabia. So that news did not sit with me well. And I told him why, and he understands that. Now, he was very vague about the logistics of everything, but I got a call again today, and he said he will be leaving within a month, and he will be there until May. So he's filling in for some people that are already on rotation, so he doesn't have to do the full 9 months, but whatever happens after that, we'll see. But he will also be stationed, depending on what they need, in Qatar and Kuwait. So I'm just thrilled about that. And it's disconcerting because Armageddon is starting, and I really didn't want one of my kids to be in Saudi Arabia at the time. I will give you some of my opinions on the probabilities and possibilities of what could happen in that area. Now, Riyadh is probably about 500 miles from Israel, maybe more. It is 250 miles from Qatar and about 400 miles from Kuwait. So by Western, what used to be the United States standards, they're pretty close together, because a 500-mile drive in California or Nevada is nothing. And he understands that things are going to escalate because already Syria and Lebanon are jumping into the fray with Hezbollah. Now, possibilities. There's already been explosions in Saudi Arabia in the past where insurgents and terrorists have set off suicide bombs in that country, in the base. So he has gone into a more precarious position. Now, what can happen? Well, if this Armageddon thing blows up into a billion pieces, then other insurgents may find it in their best interest to go ahead and do what they've always wanted to do and overthrow the royal family in Saudi Arabia. There could be a terrorist attack in Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia could jump into the fray on one side or the other. They're certainly not going to be able to remain neutral. They want to get along with the West in order to sell oil and get richer and richer, but they also want to not get killed by their own constituency. So that's a big mess. Now you see how the microcosm and macrocosms come together? You see how I've been telling you all this time? Now I have to really pay attention. But many possibilities, and I'll give them to you as they occur to me. But let's talk about a little bit of irony when it comes to foreign policy and diplomacy. Now, I've been poking fun at Petri Dish for 2.5 years, as we all have. We've all laughed at his foibles, we've laughed at his gaffes, we've chortled at his falls and pratfalls. But I was saying, and if I didn't say it before, I'll say it now. Once we have a crisis situation, we're not going to want a bumbling, doddering, senile, demented old fool who's either a traitor or incompetent running the show when we're facing serious problems. Okay? So all these jokes and stuff about how Petri Dish can't put two words together, can't read a teleprompter, all that becomes a little more serious when we're talking about Armageddon and the fact that he pretty much brought it about. So I found it funny the day that Petrie took the oath of office. I'm surprised he even got that right. But when he gave a speech and implied that now we can get back to normalcy, now the adults are in the room and the MSM, we're all breathing a sigh of relief, saying the adults are now in charge again after the childish antics of Orangey. Okay? The adults are back in charge. Eagle Scout, Boy Scout boy Sullivan is in charge. Who's a liar. Total liar. Kirby's in charge. Lloyd Austin is in charge. The adults are back in charge. I don't have to elaborate on that. If you don't have the brains to see how incompetent they are, how they treat foreign policy like it's some fourth grade president election where they just say anything and do anything. So that's my theme, is the adults are in charge. Okay, let's see how far the adults get us. I'd rather have the kids. I'd rather have Gen Zers, but I'd especially rather have Orangey, and that's what I think that Mahmoud Abbas, the head of the Palestinian Authority, who basically resides in the West Bank, was probably thinking when he was meeting with Petri Dish. Because even though he is supposedly on the other side, I don't know if he's with Hamas per se. I think he's with Fatah. You look this all up yourself. But he's with a faction that's not necessarily as radically savage as Hamas, but he knows that the West Bank is going to be next because he won't be able to control what's going on. So he knows his life is not worth a plug nickel, and he's sitting across from Petri Dish going, I really wish Orangey was here. I know he must be thinking that. He's thinking, man, much as we hated Orangey, I bet if he was here, we wouldn't be in this predicament, and his life wouldn't be in the balance. Because the people of the West Bank do not like Mahmoud Abbas. And we all know what happens to leaders that the people don't like in the Middle East. Okay, how else did they show their maturity, their soberness? Well, I turned on the inner tube, and I saw that they were having a Pentagon press conference. And it streamed an hour ago, so I thought, well, let's get the latest on what the hell's going on. Now, do you want to know what they were talking about? They were talking about how Chinese planes are encroaching and threatening and intimidating our planes that are in the international airspace. And it's a big problem, and we're doing something about it, and we're keeping up on that. Now, we've known this for many, many months, if not years, that China's been intimidating in the China Sea, and that sorties or patrols that are out in international waters are being buzzed by Chinese planes. But they chose today to make a big hullabaloo about it, like, we want to let you know we're on top of these buzzings. Now, that's an obviously cynical ploy to get people's minds taken away from what's going on that's really a crisis, and saying, let's talk about how we're alleviating something that will be a crisis later. It's very obvious. They have a fourth grade mentality, and they operate on a fourth grade mentality. So they have this thing with a couple of academic-looking glasses, people from the Pentagon, colonels and what have you, saying how bad this is, and here we're releasing never-before-seen footage, or never-before-seen videos that we're releasing from top-secret archives that we're going to show you about these buzzings. They think that that's going to take people's minds off Armageddon. Well, it's not that easy to take your mind off Armageddon when the whole damn Middle East is about to explode. Not like it's exploding now. Not just carpet bombing Gaza. I'm talking about exploding. So that was disgusting, but it's part and parcel of the Petri dish administration and everyone involved with it. So I'm sure that, and I only caught snippets of things that happened, what they were talking about. I can get the gist very easily. But it came time for questions and answers, which the Pentagon spokespeople always have, which I like about them. They actually will take questions. How many questions do you think were concerning Chinese planes buzzing around the South China Sea? Not one that I saw. Every single question was about what's going on with Israel. When are they going to attack? What are they doing about the people in Gaza? What are they doing about Syria? What are they doing about Lebanon? Is Egypt going to open up the south border and let people through? They got a lot of room in Egypt. They could let people through, and then their humanitarian organizations can very easily help to take care of them if they're in a place where they're safe, which Egypt is relatively safe. It's very simple. If I was in the White House, this would all be over in a matter of minutes. I would say to Egypt, we've been giving you money all these years, but we may not give you many more cents if you don't open up the border, and if you do, then we will send humanitarian aid by way of the Red Cross, etc. No, we're not going to send you money directly. None of you people can be trusted, not one. But we'll take the heat off if you take these refugees. Okay, that's solved. Now blow the hell out of Gaza, and then proceed to go country to country, blowing them all up. Because we really don't need them. Lebanon's been a mess for decades. Syria's been a mess for decades. Beirut used to be a really nice tourist destination back in the 60s. It was tense, but it was still touristy. Kind of like Doha now in Qatar. So I'm going to be doing a lot of research on these various places because my kid's going to be over there, and I want to know exactly how close to the precipice he is. But I wanted to do a little thing about the adults being in charge because it's such an absurd notion. The only people that aren't praying for Orangey to get back into office as quickly as possible, which there won't be an election, so forget that, is these left-wing lunatic Nazis. They have to be stamped out because they're irredeemable. And they can take out the rest of these D's too. Because once people realize how bad things are, they're not going to be putting up with this falling up the stairs and all this other crap. And having blank stares on your face when some idiot from 60 Minutes feeds questions and then feeds the answers because you're standing there like a deer in the headlights. So people aren't going to put up with that once Armageddon starts for real. So get ready for it. I'm going to call it a day on this one. And I'll talk to you more about this later. There will not be a dearth of information to talk about. So I'll talk to you later and have a good day. Bye.